Hello everybody, welcome to either my Facebook or Nobody's Tribe, depending on where you are watching from. I tried to go live earlier, but the connection was wrong, so it wasn't working properly, so I had to stop. Today I'm talking about highly sensitive people or sensory perception sensitivity. These are actually classified personality traits. They used to be called disorders, but they are now called personality traits because being highly sensitive can be seen as being very beneficial or very malevolent, good or bad, just depending on influences put onto the person. So it could actually be very positive for the person or very negative. A lot of us that are very spiritually sensitive, we don't understand it as a physical trait or as a scientific trait. A lot of us think of it more as a spiritual trait, which it is, but there are people that have studied this sensitivity, and it is classified as a certain personality trait, or like I said, it used to be considered a mental illness. Well, it used to be considered a mental illness for being sensitive. But right here it says, are you easily overwhelmed by such things as bright lights, strong smells, coarse fabrics, or sirens? You get rattled when you have a lot to do in a short amount of time? Do you make it a point to avoid violent movies or TV shows? If anybody knows, I will not watch scary movies anymore. Do you need to withdraw during busy days into bed or a darkened room or a place where you can have privacy or relief? Do you make it a high priority to arrange your life to avoid upsetting others or to go into overwhelming situations? Do you notice or enjoy... No, I'm just kidding. Do you have a rich, complex inner life? It says the trait is normal, which is slightly normal. 15 to 20% of the population is considered highly sensitive. One of the things that I had read was that other people often think there's something wrong with you because you can't do things other people do. You seem to get overwhelmed very easily, or you get fatigued very easily, and you end up falling behind or needing to take a nap or needing to withdraw. And some people will call you antisocial or whatever it is. But it's actually misunderstood a lot because it says right here 30% of HSP people are actually extroverts. So you'll have people that are actually going out and talking to people and very social that are highly sensitive people. Me being a very extreme extrovert most of my life, am a highly sensitive person. I don't know if I would fit the every category, but I'm pretty positive I'm a highly sensitive person. I've been called sensitive my whole life as a demeaning term in almost every situation. Going into situation with other young men, I didn't understand most of them. I didn't understand their motives. I didn't understand their brutality. I didn't really understand men at all growing up. I never necessarily wanted to be like them because I couldn't be like them. They were very not cold, but they would do things that were funny to them that I didn't find funny. I actually found it was hurting somebody, or it was mean, or whatever it was, and they would just like kind of laugh it off like, haha, you're just so sensitive. I'm like, I guess I'm sensitive. So what happens to these highly sensitive souls, which you can look up if you want to read the scientific studies on it, it's called HSP or SPS, sensory perception sensitivity. There's a couple other terms, and they're all combined into one giant conglomerate of terms. In different societies, a sensitive person is treated differently. In some societies, they're regarded as godly, and in our society they're regarded as weak, lazy, basically falling behind. And I know that because as I got into the workforce in the United States, I didn't understand how people do what they do every single day and not have a complete collapse. an emotional, physical, mental collapse. Because it's not like I've never done the workaholic thing, because I have. I've worked 100 hours in a week in a corporate business doing sales. I've done 14-hour days, back to back, back to back, back to back. I've had 3 jobs at once at one point, and most of the time I had 3 jobs at once because I did not know what to do with myself when I was off of work, because I was so emotionally bankrupt in my life at the time. I would just go to work, and at work I could be somebody and do something, and then when work ended, I felt like I was just falling behind or something. But even though I was working 3 jobs, I wasn't making almost any money. It was minimum wage, so I was just working all 3 jobs just to live, and that was about it. Nothing to show for it. But my main point I want to get about sensitive people, spiritually sensitive people or highly sensitive people, is that often we beat ourselves up for not being able to do things that is not our path. It is not our comfort zone. It is not what we're going to be doing with our lives. And it becomes very obvious at some points this is not what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. So if you're in a situation, whether it's work or whether it's just a situation, a living situation that is overstimulating and constantly brings you to a place of either emotional or physical collapse, where you're just like, I can't do this, I don't feel like I can work like the other people, I feel inferior, you're going to have to find a point where you have to make peace with where you're at. If you can't leave the situation, leaving the situation would put you in a worse situation. You're going to have to make full peace with that situation and be able to do some practices to collect yourself and expand yourself outside of that situation. Because in the situation, it's very difficult to feel expansive or to do much of anything other than try and survive. Most of the time when we're in situations that are very overwhelming, we have expectations on us that we know we're not capable of doing in perpetuity, you're basically just going to have to go into the now and be present and just handle it, feel it all, and don't turn it into a long story of the failure of your life, and this is what am I going to do with my life if I can't do this. And we often put ourselves in situations that we can't handle, and then for not being able to handle them, we beat ourselves up. And in beating ourselves up, we put ourselves in a very low vibration. That low vibration then creates and magnetizes situations to keep on replicating that bad vibration, and we put ourselves into a self-created hole. Or we numb. That is the thing. That is my life path. I have been a number. Being very highly sensitive, overwhelmed by other people's emotions and my own emotions, and also feeling like a failure at life because I could not and I cannot do what other people do all day. I would put my, I would numb myself. I would take sedatives, Xanax and Klonopin and opiates and whatever I could to not feel as much. I did not want to feel or accept my emotions because I felt like I was forced to live a life that I was not comfortable living. And in doing that, the only way for me to live a life I'm not comfortable living is to numb and self-medicate. People will not understand this if they just think that you're just supposed to fall in line and do what others do because that's what their dad did, or that's what their daughter did, or their dad or their mom did, and that's what their grandparents did, or great-grandparents did, and that's just what everybody did, so you better do it and step in line, and that's how you need to behave. If behaving in that way leads you to a place of deep depression and deep anxiety, and you feel very overwhelmed by the expectations of others, you either need to get out, or you need to take care of your own energy outside of that environment so that you could bring a little bit more peace to it. And the peace to it has to be connected with a life path that is something that you can do. Even if it's making maybe less money or you have to change your living situation, something has to happen if your environment is creating in you a feeling of depression and anxiety. Something has to change. We can't keep trying to live up to everybody's expectations while killing ourselves inside. Because a lot of people that don't understand you don't understand what being highly spiritually sensitive is. They just see it as a weakness. It is not a weakness. If you can capitalize on this, I'll put an example. I discovered the bountiful, infinite nature of creativity in my sensitivity, in all of my weakness, perceived weakness, through being a failure at life. Failing at life helped me understand how much not a failure I am, and how successful I am internally if I choose to be, and I stopped trying to do things not meant for me. I have many things that are meant for me, but often they're things that are on the other side of our comfort zone, and we don't think we could possibly make a living doing them. We are scared. We're hoping that we could just make it through life, because it's actually sometimes easier for us to just be perceived by others as doing the right thing and following the path. It's easier because we're so sensitive to other people's opinions. We don't want to step outside that box and have people judge us, and then we feel even weaker. Like, us sensitive people on the spiritual path, we're not seeking to try and do something. I mean, not all of us are seeking to do something amazingly cosmic. All we're trying to do is feel a worthiness to live in this world, because we feel unworthy at a deep level. There is an unworthiness because all of our reflections and jobs and situations are telling us we're weak and we're not living up to expectations. That's a very, very frustrating way to live. You're not weak. You just have certain things that are not meant for you. Football is not meant for somebody that has a degenerative bone disease or degenerative muscle disease. Football is not meant for them. You can get a lot of people and put them into a football practice, and they would be out within a day. That just doesn't mean they're weak. It means it's not meant for them. Being a roofer is probably not meant for me. That's just not my forte. Being in the hot sun, doing lots of things that I probably could not do, and I'd probably quit the same day. It doesn't mean I'm weak. It means that's not meant for me. If you are buying into things that are not meant for you, you do have things that are meant for you, but you must go within and ask and demand. No, don't demand, but ask, what are my gifts I have for this world? What can I bring forth that could not only help others, but also help build the very powerful and infinite creative source that I am within? What can we bring forth to this world that brings us a sense of strength, but not a strength as in brute force, but a strength as in a love and a forgiveness and an understanding of our role, that we don't need to fulfill a role we were not meant to fulfill. It's a very difficult subject to talk about because we live in America. Well, I mean, I live in America. Many of you watching probably live in America. And America is all about kind of like kick ass and take names, work all day and enjoy the weekend. And I'm more kind of like work all day but take a nap, read a book. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, the highly sensitive people will become harder workers than some of the people that are doing these jobs we are not meant for. They will become harder workers because when we find our passion in something that excites us, you will work diligently for it 24 hours a day, non-stop. We're working on it. So we have a work ethic. This work ethic just involves something that is not only beneficial for us, but beneficial for the world as a whole, and also talking to, other sensitive souls. Like, when it comes to like making my videos and doing my passion, this is my abundance coming through. If I didn't, if I just sat in my room and said I'm a failure, I can bear, it's hard for me to keep jobs, it's hard for me to not want to numb because of the way this world is set up, and I think of myself as a failure because of that. No, it's not a failure. In fact, failing at that is my biggest success, because it lets me know what is not meant for me and will not bring any type of abundance for me, and it won't bring abundance for the world. What will bring abundance is what brings you abundance, in accordance with what excites you and what motivates you, what gets you out of bed. I hope to be, having lots of you viewers continue to view my Facebook videos and my YouTube, Nobody's Tribe. If anybody wants to talk to me one-on-one through Skype, email me at nobodystribe@gmail.com. And I think the 7th of this month, I'm going to be doing one-on-one Skype with Michael Love Hill. We're going to be talking about the expansion in consciousness on Earth, what that is, how it's arising, and how it's perceived, some of the symptoms of that expansion in awareness, or the changing and shuffling of our lives. All this stuff I'm just kind of saying because I know we're going to talk about it, so I'm pretty positive, but I mean, it could change. We can talk about lots of different things. We'll probably talk about inner and outer realities and whatever the conversation brings up, because I'm going to allow the present moment to make the conversation. And so look forward to that on the 7th. I should have that out on YouTube and on Facebook. Probably sometime in the morning I'll get it done. Maybe around 11 o'clock I'll have it up, or 11 or 12. I love you all. Safe travels in the now, and I'll be seeing more of y'all soon.